Now, the relevance of this one actually, this is Pittsburgh Airport, and here we're doing 86,000 square metres in 72 hours of application, working under floodlights around the clock. To get the runway back open, as obviously it was critical. And what we're really showing here is that with the use of wide sprays and watering trucks, we can achieve 86,000 square metres in 72 hours, and we can multiply that by the number of sprayers. So speed of application very fast, and for our viewers' interest, the job here was a problem with freeze-thaw degradation of the runway, which was allowing sand to come up into the jet engines. So here what we're doing is a treatment to prevent freeze-thaw damage and to consolidate the concrete. Again, we're now moving on to the Taipei freeway area. This was actually a contract segment which represented 65,000 square metres. And again, the relevance to this is reminding us that Radcon has no deleterious effect when hot asphalt is put over the product, and there will be no loss of adhesion and there will be no loss of performance. Obviously very important in the highway segments. Now, of course, we do get into remedial repairs. What we're looking at here now is a job that was done in 1989 using Radcon 7. We have an overpass here that after about 40 years of use was actually showing rust staining from the underneath, and it had reached the stage where really something had to be done, and Radcon was the chosen solution. We're actually seeing here the product has had its first application, and the applicators have watered the product, and now they're brushing the surface to ensure that no surface silicates which could cause slippage remain on the surface. What will happen after they've now moved off is that for our second and third day waterings, simply the traffic will be running on the highway, and a water truck will be just running through the traffic, and the time save in this sort of system is absolutely phenomenal, where we're looking at sort of very high traffic load areas. And of course we continue to do work for Hong Kong freeway areas. This just happens to be the segment K11A that I think was done around 1997. Now, there's relevance in the bridges we show you, rather than just showing you photos. Each one tells a story. For example, we do all of the Norway, pretty much all of the Norway rail bridges. And we're not just saving on their waterproofing costs here, but we're also saving on their engineering costs, and we are delivering fast-track construction. What I mean by that is that the normal system was to emplace a membrane, then build a proper reinforced topping slab, then put your ballast and your rails. Because Radcon is hardening concrete to the equivalent of granite and it can't be surface damaged, the need of the topping slab is totally eliminated. So that's helping with the actual construction costs. It's making the construction timetable much faster, and of course making it for a lighter structure overall in not having to accommodate the actual topping slab. Of course, within trafficable areas, we're utilised on a lot of wharf decks. Obviously, some very heavy traffic there, and it's the ideal situation for us of large expanses of concrete and more often than not a seawater salt environment. And of course, around Australia in particular, we have done most of the major wharfs. This is off the northwest shelf of Australia, and this is an actual wharf deck with a concrete mix design containing slag, which can easily work with the Radcon 7 technology. And of course, sugar, as we often know, it can be a great attacker of concrete. These are actually the Gladstone sugar wharves that had reached a point where Radcon remediation was the chosen specified material. This is an interesting one here. This is a trafficable area. This is the size of 2 football fields. We've got 50,000 square metres of rooftop there, Radcon treated. And from an engineering perspective, we've got a single control joint, and that's it. Now, unfortunately, I'm showing you a car park that could be never used. That building has such structural integrity problems that all traffic on the roof has now been closed off. And what I'm actually showing you here is some rather large coins that are actually into the cracks to show you just the sort of cracking that Radcon can accommodate and maintain a seal over a lifetime period. What we're actually doing here is it was our certification, certification that Radcon is not a sealer but actually meets membrane specification. And what we're looking at here is a site that was treated on Sydney's North Shore. It had around about 1,000 lineal metres of cracking at about 1 to 1.2 millimetres. And here the university's come back after 8 years of treatment and they're ponding and they're proving two things: that no water is physically going through the slab over a period of days, and that secondly and most importantly that Radcon has grown right to the surface of the crack, so there's no actual water tracking along the crack itself. Now of course these are some of the inherent problems of membranes on trafficable areas. Hong Kong is a very moist climate and buildings are on fast track. And we have a situation where a car park can be built, a trafficable membrane's put down, the moisture is entrapped because they haven't had the time for it to dry out properly, and of course early failure is the obvious outcome. This is an actual Radcon job here. This is the Kepala Mall in Jakarta. This was a new shopping centre. It was 20,000 square metres of car park. They utilised a traditional system of a membrane with a trafficable topping slab. And here our representatives are getting in the jackhammers and digging out 20,000 square metres of 75mm reinforced topping slab to fair and clean the area to put the Radcon application down. Unfortunately, from the outset, Radcon alone, with what it would have saved in the topping slab, would make it a highly cost-effective approach. But again, unfortunately, the job of jackhammering out and removing a failed system prematurely was far costlier than the actual Radcon application itself. So we will recap our trafficable areas. No protective screed or topping required. Major cost saving, as we've explained, from several perspectives. Exceedingly fast to apply, highly cost effective in these situations. Of course, most important for trafficable areas, no loss of slip resistance to either leather or rubber in wet or dry conditions. Of course, for our highway constructors, most important, no bond loss to asphaltic toppings. In our cold climates, we're inhibiting the freeze-thaw damage that's a natural occurrence in concrete in those areas. We're preventing any possibility of de-icing salts getting to the steel reinforcement, and as always, an unlimited lifespan.